Cancer 18, hen scratching for her chicks. This is an image of taking responsibility for something or other, in this case the mother's responsibility to feed her kids. But it's a wider interpretation that we give to this. Whatever we do in life, we have to make sure that what we receive, we pay for in some way. Life, all of it, is balanced in a dynamic way so that what we get, we give. What we give, we get. It's how it works. We don't have to exchange with the person who gives us nourishment. We don't have to pay for it necessarily to that person, but we do have to pay for it some way to someone. Now, on one level, we can see this is responsibility. We have a responsibility in life to give something back. And it's not a moral question, really. It's turned into morality by some people, but it's not essentially a moral question. It's an esoteric question. This is the inevitable inference that we have to make from the understanding that cosmic law requires balance. The more yin there is in the world, the more yang there must be, and therefore there is. The more we give, the more we must receive. The more we take, the more we will be asked to give, forced to give. That's how it is. And if we don't get to understand that, we don't understand life. There are people that think they can receive all the time. They receive welfare all the time. No attempt to do work for society at all. And I'm not necessarily talking about getting a job and getting wages and fitting the system. But if somebody is receiving social security benefits in England, welfare in America, they need to do something. They need to care for something or other. Something that needs them. Something that they have responsibility for. And if they don't do that, then there will be a fundamental imbalance in life, within their own lives, that has to be reconciled at some point. There will be a price to pay. There always is. Now, knowing that there is a price to pay gives us two avenues of behavior. Firstly, as I've said, we don't take with no thought of giving back. We just don't do that. It's wrong. It's not a moral question, it's an esoteric question. It just doesn't work. But secondly, you can go a little bit further and understand that you don't need to look for pay when you do a service for someone. If, as a good Samaritan, you cross the road, you help a beggar, you give him food, you buy him a bus ticket, send him on his way or whatever. That's what you've done. Rest assured that there will be reward for that. There will be a balancing that occurs for that. It must be. Such is the teachings of Christianity. You will be rewarded in heaven. Or Hinduism. There is karma. Good karma and bad karma. These are teachings that have been around for thousands of years. It is intuitively obvious as well. So if you're a person who thinks that you can take from parents, from welfare payments, whatever, you just take and get away with it, well, you can't. You can postpone it, but you can't get away from it. That's the truth. You will have to pay for everything that you've taken. But equally, you will be rewarded for everything you've given. Now, understanding this is the essence lesson of responsibility. We are responsible. We are able to respond. If you can't respond to the needs of a situation, then you're not responsible for it. If you can, then you are. That's what responsibility means. You're responsible for what you can do in order to meet the needs of a situation. Two other things come from this. This very quality of meeting somebody else's needs willingly, it generates a state of being. It actually gives us peace of mind. If we do this again and again as a way of life, and we become a helpful person who just helps out, gives without looking for a reward, it develops a sense of, well, I'm okay, I've done my bit. And you feel no urgency to pay a debt. You're not in debt on a cosmic level because you've been helpful. And if you take every opportunity in life to be helpful, it's your way of life. Of course you'll give a coin to a beggar. Of course you'll help an old lady cross the road. Not because anyone's looking or not because it's a good thing to do. That's not the reason. The reason is that that's who you are. You're a helpful person. It so happens then you become helped when you need it, which is probably later in life more than earlier. So that gives you the peace of mind necessary to have faith that life actually is on some level fair. It also requires us to have a different attitude to challenges. Responsibility almost always brings with it challenge. If you have responsibility at work, you have to cope with problems that come up that other people don't have to cope with. You have to make sure that what you say is the case. You're responsible for your own words as well as your own actions. This is a secret that most people are reluctant to accept. Saying something which isn't true creates a debt. I can't explain really why it does or how it does, but it does. It's not a good idea to say anything which isn't true. That not only applies to lying, it applies to charm and glamour and flirting and business negotiations and so on. If you tell a lie to further your cause, there'll be a price to pay. That's not responsible behavior. And the reason for that is that the workings of the world are smooth and harmonious when truth is present, and rough and jagged and dangerous when truth is not present. We're living in a dangerous world because of the lies. Politicians, marketing men, liars generally, lovers very often, anyone who does not tell it like it is making the world a slightly more dangerous place. That's not responsibility. That's not responsible behavior. It's wrong. What we have to do if we're in a situation where untruth is present is to expose it and tell the truth. Now, of course, that's a burden because people don't like that. If you expose untruth, somebody is going to be upset and they're going to hold you responsible. So that's the burden of responsibility we actually all have if we're serious about our spiritual development. Al-Hallaj is a bit of a famous Sufi, a thousand years ago. And he discovered this mystery then. And he said this, I am truth. This idea that we are the aspect of the divine concept of truth, or the archetype of truth, we're an aspect of it. We're who we are authentically. And if we don't align with that, if we say we're something else, including our future, if we say, I will do that, really knowing that we're not going to do that, or we couldn't care whether we do it or not. Maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't, but I'll say I'll do it in order to create a result in the moment. Then that's false. That's not authenticity. And Al-Hallaj understood this. And he said, when I'm in my state of being I am, I'm being truthful. So he said, I am truth, which was held to be forbidden within the teachings of his religion. So he was put to death. But think that through. I am truth. I am is the truth. The truth of life is I am. Great philosophical wisdom here. By being who you really are, you align with the powerful archetype of truth associated in Christianity with St. Michael, the sword that cut. one of the most powerful images in the Western philosophy. This is truth. If you want to be enlightened, if you want to become realized as a full being of light, then you have to tell the truth. How could it be otherwise? How could it ever be otherwise? And it's not something that begins when you get there, it's how you get there. And it's considered by Sufis particularly that telling the truth is the fast track to realization. So if somebody says something and it's wrong, you speak up, this is wrong, and you form a conflict relationship, and you have to deal with conflict. Nothing wrong with conflict. Deal with conflict. Precipitate conflict. Nothing wrong with it. If somebody asks you a question and they don't want to hear the truth, you tell them the truth anyway. Soften it if you can, just for the case of social courtesy. But truth is truth. Now, the responsibility we have is measured not only in speaking the truth, but in providing for others. So there it is. If you take on the burden of responsibility by having children, then you've taken on the burden of providing for them until they don't need you anymore. So therefore, to train them not to need you anymore, and train them primarily in truth.